The name Fake Saint, it's quite unique. Where did it come from?
It's kind of a mix of a couple of things. The main one was really because I've always been a bit of a messer. Can I curse?
Oh yeah, go for
Oh,
it.
well, okay, good. Yeah, because I would have been described a lot as a bollocks, right? And I've always kind of fought with like kind of I'm not that bad. Do you know what I mean? I'm just a messer. I've never done anything to like seriously harm anyone or anything like that. I like to take the piss a bit too much, right? So my ma used to always, especially when I was in school and stuff, she'd be like, you don't have to be a saint, but like you have to do what they ask you to do. And I was like, fuck that. Like, no. So I was like, I'll pretend to be this lovely little kid. And as long as I don't get caught, it's fine. So that's kind of where the Saint thing came from. And then also, my childhood football team was St. Patrick's Athletic, who I grew up supporting and still support now. So that was kind of a part of it as well. And then I just wanted something that kind of, first of all, sounded good because it has to, for people to like remember it and stuff, it has to sound good. And then I was like, well, actually, like, why don't I just fake saint? Because I always pretend I'm like absolutely perfect and I can never do any wrong, but really, like, butter wouldn't melt. And like, if I can get away with it, I'll probably do it, you know? So that's kind of where it came from. Yeah.
Honestly, it's quite hearing your description now, I'm like, that is the most Irish thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
So I actually think it's really fitting because, you're hoping to be an example for like Irish people and, fly the flag for us, maybe hopefully on a global scale. So it's actually really nice to have that very Irishy kind of way of thinking about how you came up with your
Yeah.
name. I just find that really interesting.
Yeah, because I always struggle because like on radio interviews and stuff when they ask me, I'm like I can't say I was always a bollocks in school, like so I have to like find a way of wording it nicely. So yeah, I may
You
chat
can,
GPT that one later on.
you can say you were always one for the divilment.
Oh yeah, that's a very Irish. It's very Irish that one.
There you
You're
go.
right.
You can have that. So, how did, your love of music come about? Was it something that you always had a passion for as a kid, or was it something that you kind of more grew into as you got older?
I definitely always loved music. My dad would have been a massive like he would have had hundreds and hundreds of CDs and LPs and stuff in the house, and like every drive to school there was a new artist he was showing me. Now they were new to me. They were like 95 years old, but the likes of Planksty, all kind of Irish trad, Irish folk music. And I loved, like I still do, like love all that kind of music. But then as I kind of got older, like 12 to kind of 17, 18, I started finding like the now music CDs where like you'd get a variety of so many different artists and genres. And I think that was kind of where my love of music really stemmed from then. So yeah, kind of just finding like my own way through it. I never really had any interest in performing or in writing or anything till I was in maybe fifth year in school. Um Again, I was a bollocks in school, so I was always in detention, and detention was on at the same time as choir, and I thought that was even more of a punishment because they were shite. So it was either it was either you sat down and wrote a 5 page essay or you took part in choir. And I was like, there's no fucking chance I'm writing an essay. So like went and yeah, joined the choir, ended up loving it and like followed on. I ended up doing the school musicals. Yeah, it was mad. I fell in love with it very, very quickly from then. But yeah, the even with me included, the school choir was still terrible.
But sure, we won't be telling them that, will we?
I I I recently, it was very weird. We had my eldest son when I was in fifth year, and I went back this year to do like the first open night. Like he's going into first year now, which was mental. But I met my old music teacher, and there was two teachers in particular. That was a very kind of hard time. Like we had a kid at 17 and stuff, and like It was just not easy, and I was doing my leaving cert and working two jobs and whatever. But it was more so like those two teachers kept me in the school, so it was really nice to kind of like, even though they didn't do anything specific that was like you have to stay, you have to stay. They just kind of gave me that like I can go in there and just be myself and not have to worry about the outside world. And it was really nice to be able to kind of go into the open night and just be like, you like you're the reason I finished school because I wouldn't have finished otherwise. And that's the God's honest truth. Like I said it to both of them, and it was just a mad kind of feeling going back and like just standing there and being like, Jesus, I hate it while I was here.
I know that must be such a trippy moment. And like for you then, what was the moment when it went from just being kind of like something fun that you really enjoy doing to something that you went, to know what, I think I could actually do something with this?
I actually like I can pinpoint the moment nearly. It was I was singing for my leaving cert. I did music because I didn't want to do a language, so I did music from first to sixth year. But I never really had an interest in it until kind of fourth, fifth year, and I had to either I had to do some sort of performance for the exam, and it was either like record or like piano or whatever. So my teacher suggested, she heard me and another guy, Dan McCabe. He kind of
Yeah.
pretty big. We were in the same class, in fifth and sixth year, and like we were kind of jamming out in the stairs of the school. So our music room was quite small, so she used to send me and him outside because he played guitar, and like he was kind of showing me, like teaching me kind of little bits and stuff, and we were kind of just jamming out there one day, and I walked back in, and she goes, "Will you stay back after class?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." Stayed back, and she was like, "Would you like be interested in singing for your leaving cert? Like you're really good." And I was like, I never really thought about it. Like I was in the middle of learning like Frere Jacques on recorder or something, something to just get me through it. But yeah, she kind of did that and kind of stayed back. To be fair to her, she stayed back after school a couple of times and kind of coached me through different things. And that's when I really was like, maybe I'm like, if people keep telling me I'm good at this, maybe I am. And I kind of then like really was like, what am I going to do when I leave school? I didn't want to do a 9 to 5 kind of regular person's job. So I decided to go and do a music performance and production course. No, I failed the course, but I'm one of the only ones out of the whole thing that's still doing music. So I did something right. So I'm just terrible. I'm one of those people. If you give me a book, I'll never learn anything in it. But if you show me how to do things, I'll get it. So I failed all the theory. I failed every exam apart from one in the whole college course. So it was essentially, according to them, it was a waste of a year, but I got loads out of it. I joined a band, and we were together for 10 years, and then decided to do my own thing and kind of like just learned so much kind of coming out of that. But like I did the 9 to 5 thing for those 10 years. Like I was working in a chemical factory and just wasting my days away for little to no money. So now hopefully this will be like on the right path to be like a billionaire, a millionaire. I'm happy. Like don't be greedy.
I don't want to be
Yeah.
greedy. It's so funny how
Yeah.
you say that, like you did music. I actually did music in school as well. And I remember having to do so I didn't play an instrument. So I did four solo, four group singing for it.
Oh
And
yeah.
when I got my grade back, I was just like, oh wow, that's much better than I thought. So I did a little review of it. I nearly failed the written part and all, like having to do like all those harmony sort of things. So yeah, I
Yeah. Yeah.
nearly failed that part, but I aced the performance part. So I was like, that's all right
It's so
then.
it's so difficult though. It's so
It is,
difficult.
yeah.
Like, I don't know how people sit down and go, that's where that goes. I still can't tell you. Like I've been doing this for like 15 years now, and like I still don't have a clue. Like it's kind of it's kind of if it sounds good to me, it's right, you know. And like the amount, it's crazy. Like the amount of like music producers and stuff that I've spoken to, and I'm like, how do you know like what the key is? And they're like, it just sounds right. There's so many people that are just like, I don't have a clue about the scales or what a pentatonic scale. I don't still don't know what that is, but like I hear people talking about it. I'm like, cool,
Sure.
yeah, fair play, yeah, congratulations.
Oh man. And it's so funny that you say that there, that you were like, you've been working at this for 15 years. And, you know, when we see like musicians kind of coming on the scene, a lot of people would then refer to them as kind of like overnight successes. But actually, you don't really see all the work that it takes to get there. So are you kind of prepared for being referred to as kind of like a new artist kind of thing?
I think I can see it from both sides because, like, say if something blew up tonight and I got millions and millions and millions of followers, I would be a new artist to those people. So I understand that they're like, oh, he's new. But I also see the side of it like a lot of people won't see the 10, 12, 15 years of paying or playing in pubs to four people and an owl lad shouting at you to play fucking crazy world 16 times in a night, you know? Like it's a lot of people won't see that side of it. But yeah, so I do understand both, but I can see why it frustrates people because there is a lot of people that like it's a very difficult job. It's demanding on your body and your mind and like trying to remember lyrics and learn songs and kind of you have to keep up with the popular stuff as well and it's quite difficult. And then also you've got the burden of Instagram, TikTok, social media, which takes up a lot of time. Like it's all very time consuming. So people a lot of the time I think are like, oh, they just see this finished product and they're like, Jesus, he wrote that song. But they don't understand that that song costs someone 1,500 quid to get produced and like 600 quid to get mastered and whatever else. So, like, a lot of people kind of just take it for granted, I think, because it's so accessible now and it's so easily accessible that I think, even, including myself, like, I take a lot of things for granted. I'm like, so I can see it from both sides.
Yeah, and like when you were talking there, I don't know if you've ever seen the Eurovision movie with Will Ferrell, but there's a
I haven't seen
moment in that where like they're an Icelandic band and there's a guy in the audience who just keeps yelling at them, "Play yeah yeah ding dong." So when you're saying that there's always one in the audience shouting, "Play
yeah.
Crazy World," that's what
Yeah.
popped into my head immediately.
You get a lot of people at gigs and stuff, especially that have had a few drinks or whatever, that think they're paying your wage, and they're like, "Oh, you can just do that," and I'm like, "I don't know." So if I don't
Yeah.
know, I won't play it.
You kind of touched on it a little bit there, especially when you mentioned like the social media aspect and TikTok. And I think the TikTok aspect of, especially for musicians, has really changed how the industry works in a way these days. Have you kind of noticed a massive shift in that area?
I feel like since social media in general, but mainly TikTok, like there used to be a lot of opportunities for artists that, like, if a label thought there was potential there, you didn't have to have these massive numbers. They'd be like, this guy is really good, or this girl is really good. They have massive potential to be there, but they're just not being put in right in front of the right people. And I think that's almost gone now because they're nearly waiting for a sure thing to come along. Like if you see a horse race and you have 15 horses or you've got one horse in the other race, you're going to back the one that just has the one horse because all he has to do is finish the race, you know? So, like, they're kind of waiting for the ready made people that are already finished, that have already got the finished product and, like, already have the fan base there. So they're guaranteed to make that successful because it's already successful. You know, I think that's kind of where it's fallen off a bit because there's so many incredibly talented people that just don't know how to market themselves or like just aren't hitting the right audience. And it's all to do with luck with the algorithms and whatever. Like you can have one video and you say one word differently to something else and you get an extra 150,000 views. It just makes no sense to anybody. I don't think anyone really understands it. Like we can pretend we do,
Yeah,
but
I have friends who literally say that they're TikTok experts, and I'm just like, okay, explain to me how I have this video on Instagram with 1.1 million followers views, and this one on TikTok it has two, like
yeah,
not 2 million, just two. I was like,
yeah.
what is the difference? They're like, couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
like look. I'm like,
just
great.
it just makes no sense. Yeah,
It
it makes
doesn't
no
make any
sense.
sense. And there's also, of course, like the added kind of, I think we can call it a threat, which is, of course, the AI of it all. From your own perspective, how much of a worry is that for you?
I dislike people. I dislike the use of AI to create a full track. I think it's just it's kind of lessening the pot for everybody else. It's making amazing music and like arguably like perfect music, which is what it's designed to do. But it's taken away from the artists that are going out and doing 10 writing sessions in a week and like hopping on 16 different trains to get to places, and it's really taken away from the art of it because it's just super easy. You can just type in what you want and then you can just edit the changes. But I have seen it in a couple of sessions I've even been in, that like you can go to AI and nearly use it as a tool of like as like a co-writer, be like, give me another way of saying this word or like another way of using this phrase, and that can be helpful. But I think in general, I think it is like kind of really taken away from the beauty and the art of what people are creating because it's just numbers on a machine making it, making what they
Yeah.
know people want to hear.
And I think that's one of the key things is that businesses and people are kind of blurring the lines between it being a tool to help people do their job and instead of being the thing that's going to replace their job, that kind of a
Yeah,
way. And I think that's where the line is being blurred in a lot of industries. But I've noticed it recently just with the music industry, especially, it just seems to have gone from 0 to 90. So that's why I was curious to kind of hear your thoughts on that.
yeah, I think it's because it's so like anybody can do it. Anyone with a laptop can just go make me this song, and then they have a song. And now people who have put no time into learning their craft or no time into learning how to songwrite or no time into like going into these rooms and like doing the shit stuff that we all have to do, that really like they help you learn. Like we've all, I think every major artist has gone through a heap ton of just terrible sessions or terrible times, or like some days you go into a session you might get absolutely nothing out of it. You might have a title of a song and nothing else, or you might have like a concept and then no music to go with it. It happens.
Hmm.
But I think that's why it's so appealing to people now that they can just be like, oh well, I can just like be an artist now. I don't have to. I don't actually have to sing. I don't have to do this or that or this. I can just type and then I'm an artist. So I think the people that do that, in my opinion, aren't artists. They're kind of con artists. But yeah, just to be just to be frank with it, if you've never gone into a real writing session, you're not a real artist.
Yeah, and that's really, really fair. And when you're talking there about like how people don't get to see like the struggles of like what songwriters and musicians go through in order to create their music, like I kind of remembered seeing like the Lewis Capaldi documentary that was on Netflix that time, where he really and truly like swung open the doors. And am I right in saying that Lewis has actually been quite a bit of a supporter of your music as well as like the likes of Teddy Swims?
It's it's such a weird thing. It's so basically, right, to just get through the story very quickly. It was my birthday. I was hammered, and Lewis Capaldi was playing the Olympia, and I was front row, and everything went quiet for a second, and I had no plan to do this. Just out of nowhere, I kind of just like shouted, "Let me sing with you!" And he kind of looked down and looked at me as if to say, like, "Can you fucking sing?" Like, and he actually came over without the microphone. He was like, "Can you sing?" And I went, "Yeah." I was full of confidence. I don't know where it came from because I'm not. I'm quite an anxious person, really, and I don't know where it came from. And luckily, well, I don't know if it's lucky or not, but to my right there was a group of kind of 10 or 15 people that followed my band at the time that were all friends. And they started shouting, yeah, you can sing, like, get him up, get him up. And then it ended up being this big thing. I went up on stage, I sang with him, and yeah, it was kind of just a big kind of blowout moment for a couple of weeks. Everyone wanted to be my best friend, and and ever since then, like the odd time, like I'll drop him a message or whatever, or like just see kind of what he thinks of a song, and he doesn't get back sometimes because he's Lewis Capaldi. I wouldn't reply if I was Lewis Capaldi. I'd be like, who the fuck's this guy? You know?
He's too busy
But
filming Taylor Swift music videos. It's fine.
oh, dead fucking right. I hope he got paid big bucks for that. Um, but yeah, it's kind of like that. And same with Teddy. Like Teddy was a kind of off the cuff thing. He was only really becoming discovered, and he was doing his first gig in Ireland in Dublin. He was playing the Academy, and again, I was front row. I was sober for this one, but I knew all the words to all his original music, and most of the people there would have seen his covers blow up, and that's why they were there. So the fact that I knew his original stuff, I'm very much like, if I find an artist, I'll just do a deep dive, and I could be listening to them when they were 16, busking, like watching videos of that. So, yeah, he saw that I knew all the words and came over to me with 2 songs to go, and he goes, "I'm going to find out if you can sing." And then I was like, "Oh fuck's sake!" And because I was like stone cold sober, and he went into another song, walked off. I was like, grand, he's leaving me alone, deadly. And he came over with the last chorus and handed me the microphone over the barrier, and I went, oh fuck. So ended up singing. The crowd loved it, whatever. I had a great time. But then after the show, his band were like, oh, Teddy wants you to come back. And I was like, cool. So brought me backstage. We ended up in the Wiley Fox in Dublin. I don't know if you know it. Had a few pints and ended up on a lock in the Wiley Fox until 5 o'clock in the morning, just talking absolute shit to each other about every aspect of our lives. And yeah, then every gig he's come back since, he's invited me along and given me guest passes, and like to even to the point where like he was playing the Olympia and stuff, and I bought tickets, and he was like, "Man, I told you you don't need to buy tickets." I was like, "That's not. I'm not gonna ask you for things." So like he gave me guest passes to Electric Picnic, like just mad stuff. And yeah, like even I was doing a writing week. I was there in London for 8 days, and he was playing 2 Wembley shows while I was over there. And he saw that I was in London, and just, I didn't even get a message off him. It was just my email popped up. You've tickets for Teddy for 2 nights. You've got 2 passes for each night, and that was it. So I ended up bringing like my mate who's never heard of him, which was great because like he got to experience like backstage at Wembley for someone he'd never even heard of. And then my producer Liam as well, that I was spending the week with. So it was kind of like really cool for to have that kind of experience as well.
Oh, I love that. And actually, my cousin is he's one of the guitarists in Mastodon, and he's like that as well. Like anytime he has a show, he's just like, please don't like stop buying tickets. Just I'll just get you your tickets. I'm like, but I want to
Yeah,
support. And he's just like, no, like
yeah.
stop it.
They're at that stage now though. Like they don't need the support. They don't need us to buy tickets. Let's buy them. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I
So
had this
true.
I had this conversation with someone, and I was like, I feel bad not buying the tickets. And they were like, man, if you don't buy the tickets, someone else is going to get to go and see the show. Like they're not going to miss that 50 quid. They're making about 2 million per show. Like they're not going to miss your 50 quid. Like I was like, yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
I'll
So
stop complaining.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I've been really lucky. Like the last couple of times I've met like Keen the Crow was backstage, um, Hosier was backstage, and like Hosier is a big one for me and my missus as well. She nearly fainted. Um, it was deadly to watch because she was like, "It's Hosier." I was like, "Yeah, yeah,
Out of the way, Sean.
yeah, yeah." Pretty much. I didn't even exist for that 10 minutes. Yeah, so that type of stuff is really cool as well.
Oh, I love that. Now, tell me about Sober, because of course that's your single that's coming out soon. So how did that come about for you?
It started off as a joke. This song started off as a piss take. One of my friends, I'm not gonna, I won't name him. He was in this like situationship where he was very much a booty call. Like he was, and like I thought that was hilarious because usually it's the other way around. Like the girl would be pointing over the fella, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious that he was mad about this girl, and she wanted literally like didn't want to know his name apart from when they were out drinking. So like if she was out on a night out, she'd drop him a text and he'd every time without fail go out to her, pick her up, drop her home, and like sometimes when he dropped her home, they'd do the business, right? And like that was great, right? But he texted her the next day, like, hey, okay, ghosted. Never. So she literally only used them for lifts. And I thought it was the funniest thing in the world because he was genuinely like in love with this girl. And no matter how many times we told him that it wasn't going to happen and whatever, he was like, no, no, she just needs time. I'll grow on her, all this type of thing. And we were like, man, it's just not going to happen. So eventually I was like, I'm gonna take the piss out of him, so I'm gonna write a song about it. But I ended up putting myself in his shoes, and I because I'm very like if I'm into you, I'm into you, and that's it. Like there's no I kind of like all or nothing kind of person with everything I do, unfortunately, which is a pain. But but yeah, so like uh yeah, I put myself in his shoes when I was writing it, and it ended up being like a really depressing song because I was like, I'd be devastated if this was me. Like, I'd be absolutely like heart torn out of my chest in pain over this girl if this was happening to me. And yeah, then Sober came out, and like, it's quite depressing. It is. It sounds lovely. And like, tell me, did you sober up? No, no. She didn't want to fucking know. Like that. It's sad. It's a sad song.
It is, but I can't stop laughing now thinking of like the inspiration behind it because it is such a juxtaposition of like in the humor there was sadness and it's almost a bit like comedians, you always hear it's like, oh, like when they take off the clown makeup then they're actually, you know, quite like they just like to be like reserved or quiet and things like that. So it's a
Yeah.
nice juxtaposition actually, I think.
For me, like, because I felt really bad for him because he was so hopeful that this was gonna happen, and I was actually asked in another interview during the week that he was like, "Did it ever happen with them?" I was like, "No, she's engaged and has two kids with someone else, and your man's still single. He's probably still waiting for her to come around to him." Um, but yeah, it's just it was never. Everyone else apart from him could see that it wasn't going to go anywhere. You know, it was one of those, and he was just like blinkers on, like, nope, this is it now. This is the one, and she wasn't the one.
Oh,
So
bless.
yeah, poor fella, poor
So
fella.
what have you got planned now for the rest of the year? Because I'm just conscious that I've kept you at least 10 minutes longer than I said I would,
Oh
but
sure,
it's
no, I will
been
talk. We can talk till next Sunday if you want. I don't mind.
I love it. But yes,
Yeah,
what is next? What's the plan for the year?
I'm writing an EP that's coming out in September. Well, if it's written, it's coming out in September. It'll be written. And then I've got hopefully some support slots coming up in the summer. Hopefully some festivals. I've got a gig in Dublin in March. We don't have a date for that yet. And then I'm doing a gig in London as well on the 10th of March if you're around.